Before you hit Kaio, you think you know what you're walking into. Cafecito windows, cigars, little shrines of Cuban comfort. It feels like a home away from home. But for who exactly? A museum of the past, perhaps? Or a place where people took what was stolen and built something louder in its place? Pop culture tried to turn 1980s Miami into a gangster postcard. Scarface made it a fever dream. Fun movie, terrible history lesson. The real story was survival. This place is respected worldwide for a reason, and it's one of the only spots in Miami where you'll see true Havana-style cantineros. Disciplined technique, elegant showmanship, obsessive hospitality. Janet's story culminated in a bottle, La Marilita rum. I'm here to find out how it got made and taste what legacy looks like in a glass.
Café La Trova.
The legendary Café La Trova.
One of the top-ranked bars in the world.
Yes, one of the 50 best bars. Multiple times.
Hats off to Julio.
And his amazing team.
Yes.
Because he has an incredible team behind him.
Lots of culture down here, and they're doing a great job of bringing that forth onto Kaio and permeating themselves through the ranks of the world.
100%. They have been the pattern. Julio has done that to perfection, and they are the ones to emulate for sure.
So, Janet, happy to be here.
Thank you.
It was my pleasure. I love your story with your rum, the La Marilita. It's something that really spoke to me. But I'd like to know a little bit more about you. Tell me more about yourself.
I came from Cuba when I was 6 years old on an exodus called the Mariel Boatlift. It was in 1980. The story is that on April 1st, 1980 in Cuba, there was an ambush at the Peruvian embassy where 6 Cubans basically rammed a bus into the embassy of Peru looking for political asylum.
Wow.
Communism was already obviously in full effect. People were hungry and desperate. The Peruvian ambassador to Cuba gave them the asylum. Other Cubans on the island started to find out that these 6 Cubans were taken into the embassy and given the asylum, so now they're showing up at the embassy of Cuba. Fidel, as a punishment to this ambassador for giving the asylum, took out all the guards, removed all the guards from the embassy, and basically left them naked. And so now Cubans are just showing up at the embassy trying to get out. And Jimmy Carter's administration agreed to take 3,500 political prisoners. So my father had been a political prisoner. What Fidel did was that he sent over more than 125,000 Cubans. Whether they were political prisoners or not, there were many delinquents, but there were great families as well. The bad stuff is always easier to believe. That's a line from Pretty Woman, that's a line. I didn't make that up. But anyway, the movie Scarface, right? That main character, Tony Montana, that was sort of like the staple for our exodus. And for so many years, it bothered me so much because it represented just a portion of that story. And so I'm a writer first and foremost. And during the pandemic, or a little bit before the pandemic, like in 2019, I finally sat down and said, I'm gonna write my story about the Mariel Boatlift and what it truly was. Not the sensationalized story that Scarface portrayed. You know, it's a classic and it's an incredible film, but
Sure.
it's just a very sensationalized, obviously romanticized idea of what the Mariel Boatlift was in general. People were going into prisons and telling them, hey, do you want to be here for 20 more years? Or do you want to tell your family in Miami to come bring a boat at the Mariel port, which is why it was called the Mariel Boatlift. And a lot of people don't even know that. The Mariel Boatlift is called the Mariel because the port that we would leave out of was the port of Mariel.
Port. Okay.
You know, your family was showing up on boats to pick you up, and what they would do is that they would fill this boat up with strangers and say, if you don't take these 60, 80 people, we're not gonna let your family go. And it wasn't true, they were letting anybody, right? But they just wanted to empty out whoever was against them. So we were looked upon as the scum of the earth, right? The traitors, the worst of the worst, and that's the narrative that he wove into.
That was the propaganda.
Completely. And so that's what he convinced the Cuban people of. That's what he tried to convince the people here in Miami of. And a lot of it took, and a lot of it was that we were viewed, even by our own people, for a long time as the scum of the earth. And we were treated very poorly for a long time. A lot of Cubans were picked up from the Mariel port, arrived in Key West. Their family was waiting for them, and they got to come to Miami. For us, it wasn't that simple.
Tell me your story.
We were put in a boat that was not our family. We arrived in Key West. It was like a 17-hour journey. There was a horrific tropical storm I remember these ginormous waves crashing into the boat. People were falling off because of these tidal waves. The outriggers broke on this boat, and they had the grandson of the owner of the boat jumped in and went underneath and tied them with a rope. Now we would have all drowned. Over 25,000 people had arrived at that time. And my mom's aunt took a picture of me leaning on the boat rail. And I have that picture. And they didn't find us.
Oh, your family didn't find
They
you.
didn't find us. And we were processed in Key West, and hours later, we were put on a bus, we were taken to a hangar, and we were flown to Arkansas, to a processing, right, an army base in Arkansas called Fort Chaffee. So at this time already, so now this is May 17th. So this whole thing started mid-April, right, the Mariel Boatlift. By May, the US government already realized or found out that Fidel is sending over delinquents, right? Because Tent City now is full, there's a lot of crime in Miami. The reason that we were sent to Arkansas, one, because our family wasn't there to claim us, number one, and two, because we arrived the week of the McDuffie riots, because the officers that had killed McDuffie were acquitted the week that we arrived. So now Miami is rioting.
It's in turmoil.
Liberty City is rioting. The Tent City is full. So now the US government is like, who are these people? And now we need to really take a look at who's here because they were a political prisoner and who's here because they were a murderer.
Right. So they send you to the most boring state in the union.
So they sent us to Arkansas. I remember the base, but I don't remember. I couldn't tell you what Arkansas looked like, right? I just remember the army base.
I could tell you, it's basically nothing in that direction, and then you turn around, there's nothing in that direction for about 50 miles.
Oh God. And corn. Okay. And but there were other bases, like they had one in, I think, Wisconsin as well. So, and the reason is like there's so many of us that they had to fit us somewhere. And so for us, again, it was Arkansas, Fort Chaffee. We were there for 54 days of hell. And I obviously have memory of being in Fort Chaffee and sleeping in these like cots in these barracks. And I saw things that no 6-year-old should see. And I'm walking around whenever I would escape my parents for the 3 or 4 seconds that I would escape them.
Not exactly fully comprehending what's happening.
Not at all, right? So this is a story that I wrote in my screenplay called La Marielita. So I wanted to write something authentic and actual, not sensationalized. So from the perspective of somebody that went through it. And there's so much that went on there in that place, including a fire on July 1st, that they set the barracks on fire, basically, and we had to run for our lives. And
Where did you run?
Somebody, I remember, opened like a hole in a fence.
Wow.
And we all crawled under there, and it was a landmine, like a practice mine for the soldiers that were there stationed.
Live mine?
Yes.
Live minefield?
So now you have helicopters. Don't move, stay where you are, because if you step and then the thing blows.
Wow.
Because again, it was an active military base.
Each step, you have no idea whether that's going to be your last.
So by then I'm passed out, right? By then I was in and out of consciousness. Like, I do remember running for my life and being dragged along the pavement because my parents couldn't run and carry me. And so after that, I have very little memory of what happened after that July 1st fire, to tell you the truth. I know that July 8th I was here in Miami, and to what I was going to tell you, that even our own people kind of looked down on us because so much negativity surrounded us, right? There was all that narrative of negativity. And so so basically my screenplay discusses that whole trajectory of, my parents falling in love and then leaving Cuba and that whole journey.
It does read like a very romantic movie, how everything is so beautiful and perfect in the beginning. It's all sunshine and roses, and then tragedy strikes.
Yeah.
You don't plan for it. You're never ready, but
right.
It happens all the same. And then there's just the battle back to bring yourself back to getting to some sort of normalcy. So you're rooted into Miami, and
yes.
Bring it now to you're a rum creator.
Yeah. How did that happen? How the rum came about is very serendipitous, I guess. I guess you can tie that to my grandfather.
Tells you, you need a shot. After all you've been through, you need a shot.
Yeah.
Here you go.
So I think that then I go back to my origin, right? Like Cuba, and my grandfather. My grandfather had 4 very thriving businesses in Cuba before Fidel came in and took it all. And one of them was called Casa Manolo. And Casa Manolo imported whiskeys and rums from all over the world. And so I remember this, my house, there was always liquor around and cigars. And originally I thought, maybe I'll create a cigar, but then rum kept just
It's permeating.
tapping my shoulder. And so it's very synonymous with Cuba. My grandfather loved rum, and I was obsessed with him. And so I thought, okay, we're gonna create a rum, not knowing the first thing about rum, distillery, making rum, nothing, right? I was a writer.
Starting completely from scratch as a
Right.
complete novice in
Writer with a
spirits world.
psychology degree. So I started to just research, and I called 2 distilleries here locally in Miami. Because originally I thought, oh, I'm gonna make it in Miami, 305.
Yeah.
But for rum, at least, I wanted something very aged. I wanted a product that did not have the additives or the added sugars.
Okay.
I didn't want to cut corners.
You didn't want to be like the main brands out there right now, the big brands.
No, at all. I wanted something very craft, something that would represent my heritage and my freedom and my gratitude.
And all that you've been through.
And my culture. And eventually through family, I speak to one of my husband's cousins. And so through that person who is in the rum industry, we end up in Panama.
And this is where you meet the master distiller for La Marielita rum.
It's Don Pancho.
Don Pancho, okay.
Who has his own line of rums as well. He's been in the business for over 60 years. He's in his mid-80s.
Legend.
He is 100% a legend. He is a luxury, is what he is. He's the most beautiful human being ever. They have about 3 master blenders, and he is their main master blender. Obviously, our heritage very much connected us, but just even though he was in his 80s and I'm 52, there was some major chemistry and connection, and we just understood each other on a very organic level.
Right.
And
organic chemistry and connections
Yes.
are very important when it
Yes.
comes to
And-
the process of creating a rum.
His rums are exceptional and in a league of their own, and I wanted to just have somebody like that create my product.
So, the artwork on the bottle is also very special. Not everybody has a full-blown art piece as their label on the bottle itself. Where does that come from? How did that come about?
So this very special artist that our family has been friends with for over 20 years, his name is Humberto Benitez. He has a beautiful gallery called H. Benitez Art in Coral Gables, Florida.
Okay.
The label is an original piece, and everything in the label is very symbolic.
Yeah, the first thing that strikes me is the embellishment of the white sail, protecting
Yes.
the girl in the boat.
Right.
From the darkness behind it, of the darkness of the night.
So, right, like I told you, we came at night, 17-hour journey during a horrible tropical storm. And we are here by the grace of God, honestly. And surely for me, because I'm Catholic, I'm very religious, I feel that, the Virgin Mary was 100% protecting us that whole night. And so that white mast is very symbolic of she envelopes us in her protection. And
No, you don't just get through a tropical storm
no,
off of
on
luck.
a wooden sailboat
Right.
with broken outriggers on
No.
luck. And so the dress of the woman on the boat is yellow because our patron saint, La Virgen de la Caridad del Cobre, Our Lady of Charity, her color is yellow. The girl is surrounded by books on the boat because I'm a writer. And again, it's a night scene because I came at night. And then the blue of the ocean, obviously because it's at night and the moon shining on it, gives it that
Bit
hue.
of a turquoise color.
Right, but also I had a little doll that I was sewing with my grandmother the night that the guards came to our house and banged on the door at midnight or whatever it was, very late. I still remember thinking, why am I still up?
Yeah,
Right?
12 o'clock
I do
for a
remember
6-year-old,
that
that's,
sensation. I don't remember the whole thing, but I do remember why the hell am I
Too
here?
much cafecito in the household.
Right. What happened here? Why am I not sleeping? And so I was sitting on the kitchen table with my grandmother, finishing this little rag doll that we had worked on. Her name was Lola. The doll's name was Lola. And when the whole thing happened, okay, get your stuff, we gotta go. As I'm getting on the vessel with my dad and my mom, one of the Cuban guards says to my dad, the little doll can't go. So sure enough, they ripped the doll out of my hands. I'm screaming, starting with the dress that the little doll was wearing was this turquoise color of the ocean.
And that's what's carrying you.
And that's what's
Across
carrying
the
me,
storm.
the memory of everything that I had to leave
That's beautiful.
behind.
I hope you got another doll when you got back.
None of them are Lola. But that's okay. I got other, you know, you have to, this whole thing, it's just, you just have to roll with the punches. You know, it's such a cliche, but it's true. And it's taught me resilience. It's taught me that a writer can create a brand and be CEO and end up being the first Cuban American woman in the world to found a rum brand. There are no others. I've said that before in an interview, and I've had them tell me, "Oh, of course there are." I'm like, "No, Google it. Like you're the journalist. Look it up." Like
well, if you think about it, I mean,
it's wild to me.
Everything comes from a seed, right? So let's say you plant a seed for a flower, becomes that flower. Maybe that doll was your seed and became your rum.
Yeah, that's a beautiful metaphor. It's a beautiful way to look at it.
Where exactly can people find La Marilita? Where are you available at?
Yes, so we are right now mainly in Florida, in every Total Wine in Florida, ABC, Big Daddy's, the smaller ones, the mom and pops, many on-premise, meaning restaurants and bars. This year, we entered 14 other states with Total Wine.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That is major.
That's a big one.
Been major for us. So we're available in 14 other states with
Arkansas?
Total Wine. We are available in Arkansas.
There it is.
So, like, full circle moment. Sorry. Yeah, that's crazy, right? That's crazy. Yeah, that's pretty wild. But again, maybe everything that I went through in my life prepared me for this moment. I've never been somebody that limits myself, especially in a country that you can do and be whatever the heck you want to, you know, be and do.
As long as you give the effort.
And as long as you work your butt off and you put in the effort and the work and you study and whatever the case may be. So yeah, and
yeah, you're a product of the work that you put in.
for sure.
But for your story, born from prominence and a happy time, obviously went through a lot of tragedy, turmoil, trauma. Your resolve and your story is strengthened through your resilience.
Yeah, no excuses.
How do you think that reflects in the taste of the rum itself?
Very bold,
Bold?
but also very smooth.
Okay.
So-
Well, we should put it to the test. We just so happen to be at one of the world's best bars.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see
100%.
maybe what they can do with it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see.
All right, let's go find out.